It was one of those warm spring evenings that made the whole city feel like it could breathe again. The air smelled faintly of grass and barbecue smoke, and somewhere in the distance, kids were still shouting over a basketball game that hadn't ended for hours. In a quiet corner of Lincoln Park, Benjamin Anthony, a 17-year-old with a soft voice and a curious mind, stood alone beneath the evening sky, his small drone humming above him. He wore an oversized hoodie, jeans, and a pair of headphones draped around his neck, half listening to the soft rhythm of a lo-fi beat he'd made earlier that week. He wasn't causing trouble, never did. He was just filming. The camera on his drone moved like a lazy bird, gliding over the park's trees and skyline. Benjamin watched it from his phone screen, trying to capture that perfect shot, the orange light of sunset spilling across the rooftops. He wanted to make a short, beautiful video, something his mom could be proud of. But that's the thing about moments of peace in this country, they never seem to last long when your skin is brown. "Hey, you there?" The voice hit Benjamin like a slap. His fingers froze on the controller. He turned. A police officer was walking toward him across the grass, the low sun flashing against his badge. He was tall, broad-shouldered, maybe in his 40s, with the kind of authority that filled every inch of space it entered. His nameplate read Officer R. Daniels. Benjamin blinked, confused. Yes, sir?" The man's tone hardened. "What are you doing?" Benjamin lifted the controller slightly, his voice steady but polite. "Just flying my drone, sir. For a school project." The officer's lips curved, not in a smile, more like amusement with a touch of contempt. "A school project? With that thing?" Benjamin nodded. "Yes, sir. It's just..." Daniels took a step closer. "You got a permit for that?" The question landed heavy. Benjamin hesitated. "No, but it's not. It's just a small drone. You don't need one unless you're near an airport, I think." Daniel's eyes narrowed behind his sunglasses. "You think?" Benjamin's stomach twisted. "Yes, sir. I checked, it's legal." For a second, the officer said nothing. Then he let out a short laugh, the kind that makes your chest tighten because it isn't really about humor. "You one of those YouTube kids or something? Filming people for clicks?" Benjamin shook his head quickly. "No, sir. It's just for school." Daniel stepped closer, his boots crunching over the grass. "School? What school?" "Roosevelt High," Benjamin said. Daniels tilted his head. "That in the East Side?" "Yes, sir." The officer's smirk deepened. "Figures." Benjamin felt something in his chest go cold. He didn't answer. He didn't want to give the man anything else to twist. The officer looked up at the drone, then back down at Benjamin. "You recording people? Because I could arrest you for that." Benjamin's voice cracked slightly. "No, sir. I wasn't recording anyone. Just the sunset." Daniel's tone snapped like a whip. "Put it down. Now." Benjamin hesitated, trying to land the drone manually, but before he could move, Daniel stepped forward, ripped the controller from his hands, and tossed it to the ground. The plastic hit hard, the screen cracked, and Benjamin instinctively bent down, but the officer's hand shot out. "Don't move." Benjamin froze. The drone, still hovering overhead, beeped softly as it descended on its programmed path. Daniels looked up at it, then back at the boy. "You think this is a game, huh?" He swung his baton upward in a sudden motion. The baton struck the drone midair, sending it spiraling into the grass with a loud, ugly crack. The sound broke something inside Benjamin too. He stared at the wreckage, the shattered wings, the twisted body, the red light still blinking weakly. That drone had cost him everything he'd saved for the past 2 summers. Washing cars, editing small videos for local businesses, hustling just to afford a secondhand camera. It wasn't a toy. It was his way out. "Why did you do that?" he said quietly. Daniels folded his arms. "Because I can. You don't fly stuff like that around people, got it? Especially not near officers." "There aren't any officers here," Benjamin said softly. Daniel stepped closer, his shadow falling over the boy. "There is now." Benjamin's jaw tightened. "You had no reason." The officer interrupted, pointing at him. "Watch your tone, son." Benjamin's heart hammered in his chest. He'd been taught this moment his whole life. Keep your hands visible, Don't talk back, stay calm. But something about the broken drone on the ground, it pulled at something deeper. Sir, I wasn't doing anything wrong, he said, his voice shaking. You broke my equipment for no reason. Daniel's mouth twisted into a grin. Call it a lesson. Benjamin took a breath, trying to hold back the sting in his throat. You shouldn't have done that. Daniels laughed again, a cruel sound that carried across the empty field. You gonna tell on me, kid? Benjamin looked up at him, tired, angry, but calm. No, sir, he said quietly. I don't have to. Daniels frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Benjamin glanced down at the broken drone, then back at the officer. It uploads everything to the cloud, even when it's broken. The smirk on Daniel's face flickered. He tried to hold it, but there was a pause, a split second where confidence faltered and something like worry passed behind his glasses. You're bluffing, he said. Benjamin shrugged slightly. Maybe, but you'll find out soon enough. The officer stepped forward, close enough for Benjamin to smell the faint hint of coffee and tobacco on his breath. You think anyone's gonna care what a kid like you says about me? Benjamin looked him in the eye. They'll care when they see what you did before you got here. That stopped him. Daniel's jaw clenched. What did you say? Benjamin didn't answer. He just turned his eyes toward the fading light above the park, toward the small cloud that glowed pink and gold against the horizon. Because what Daniels didn't know was that Benjamin's drone had been recording for almost an hour before the confrontation. And it hadn't just captured the sunset. It had captured him. The world was quiet now. The basketball game in the distance had ended, and the sound of cicadas had taken its place. Daniel stood still for a long moment, staring at the boy. Then, with a small shake of his head, he muttered, "You people never learn," and turned toward his car. Benjamin watched him go. His hands were still shaking, but his face stayed calm. He knelt by the broken drone and picked it up carefully, one piece at a time, placing it gently back into his backpack. The last blinking light on the drone went out as he zipped it shut. He pulled out his phone. The screen showed a message, "Upload complete, backup secured." Benjamin took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "Good." Because for once, the truth didn't just disappear. It was saved, somewhere the officer couldn't reach. Somewhere bigger than fear. The night stretched long after Benjamin saw those two words flash on his phone, "Upload complete." He lay awake for hours, staring at the faint glow of the screen beside him, replaying everything in his head. The officer's voice, the crack of plastic against pavement, the way the park went silent when the drone hit the ground. Every sound from outside, a car passing, a siren in the distance, made his chest tighten all over again. By the time the first light slipped through the thin curtains, it wasn't morning he felt, it was survival. The kind that doesn't come with peace, just the realization that somehow, you made it through another night. Benjamin sat up slowly, eyes gritty, the weight of what happened pressing heavy against his ribs. The air in his room felt still, almost too still, like the world was holding its breath with him. He picked up his phone again, unlocked it, and stared at the saved video, 43 minutes that could either ruin his life or protect it. He didn't know which yet. Downstairs, the smell of pancakes and warm butter drifted from the kitchen, mixing with the sound of old Sam Cooke playing from his mom's phone speaker. For a second, the normalcy of it all felt cruel, how the world just kept spinning even when yours had stopped. When he sat down at the table, his mother glanced over, immediately noticing the look on his face. "Morning, baby," she said, flipping a pancake. "You okay? You look like you didn't sleep." Benjamin hesitated. "Something happened last night." Her voice softened. "What do you mean, something happened?" He told her, about the park, the officer, the drone. He didn't raise his voice or embellish the story. He just told it the way it happened, plain and steady. She set the spatula down and turned to face him fully, eyes sharp with that mix of fear and anger only a mother could hold. "Did he touch you?" "No," Benjamin said quickly. "Just broke it." She exhaled slowly, one hand pressed against the counter to steady herself. "You know how this city is, Ben. You have to be careful. They see a young black boy with something they don't understand, and they start filling in blanks that were never theirs to write. I wasn't even near anyone," he said softly. I know. She gave a small, tired smile. That's the part that hurts the most. There was a long silence between them, the kind that said everything words couldn't. Then she added, almost in a whisper, whatever you got from that drone, you keep it safe. Sometimes, proof is the only thing that keeps the story straight. Benjamin nodded, and in his chest, something settled, not peace, but resolve. At school, the day felt wrong. Too bright, too loud, too normal. He moved through it like a ghost, hearing laughter in the halls, feeling shoulders brush past him, but never quite in the moment. Every sound, every face felt distant. By lunchtime, he slipped away to the quiet part of the field behind the gym, where no one really went except kids looking to be alone. He sat in the grass and pulled out his phone, opening the video again. It started with wind in the trees and the golden light of late evening, then shifted as the camera caught the police car parking across the street. Benjamin hadn't even noticed that detail before. He watched as the officer got out, something small and wrapped in clear plastic in his hand. Then, a few seconds later, Daniel stopped near the trash can and dropped it before walking toward the camera. Toward him. Benjamin's stomach turned. He paused the video, zoomed in, and the shape of the object became clearer. It was small, thin, and unmistakably a bag of something that didn't belong there. He sat still for a long moment, his heart pounding in his ears. Then he saved another copy of the video to a separate folder, labeling it Park Incident Full Footage. That night, after dinner, Benjamin called his cousin Tasha. She was the loud one in the family, outspoken, unafraid, and always fighting for something. She'd started a small YouTube channel, Eyes Open Media, where she talked about local stories most people tried to ignore. When she picked up, she could tell from his tone that something was wrong. What happened? She asked. He told her everything, from the officer's first shout to the moment the drone shattered. When he mentioned the video, her voice changed. Wait, you have it recorded? Yeah, Benjamin said quietly. It uploaded automatically. All of it. Tasha didn't speak for a few seconds. Then she said, Do you know what you have here? It's just a video, he said. She let out a sharp breath. No, it's not just a video. It's proof. It's the kind of thing that forces people to look, even when they don't want to. He hesitated. You think I should post it? I think, she said carefully, you should let me handle it. I'll make sure your name doesn't show up anywhere. But once it's out there, you can't take it back. Benjamin leaned back in his chair, staring at the dark screen of his laptop. The reflection of his own tired face stared back at him. Okay, he said quietly. Do it. The video went up the next morning. A 1-minute clip, titled simply, Officer Smashes Teen's Drone. No location, no names, just the truth, stripped of everything except what mattered. At first, it spread slowly, a few hundred views, a handful of comments. But then overnight it caught fire. Someone shared it on Twitter with the caption, Another day, another cop abusing power. By noon, it had over 50,000 views. Benjamin watched the numbers climb, refreshing the page like he couldn't stop himself. He scrolled through the comments, reading every reaction, every insult, every word of support. Some people were angry. This happens every day, and nobody listens. They'll find a way to blame him anyway. Others were skeptical. Could be fake. We don't know the full story. But then one comment changed everything. Slow down the video at 15 seconds. Look what he drops before walking up. Benjamin did. And once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. He called Tasha immediately. There's something in the video. Something he dropped before he talked to me. I saw it, she said. I think he planted evidence, Ben. This isn't just harassment anymore. His throat felt dry. What do? We keep the full footage safe, she said. And we wait. Someone's going to notice. Someone did. A local journalist named Maria Henderson reached out the next day. She wrote for the Civic Eye, a small independent news site that focused on police accountability. Her message was simple. I saw the clip. Can we talk? They met at a small cafe on the edge of downtown. Maria was older, calm, with that kind of quiet confidence that made people want to tell her the truth. She asked questions carefully, never pushing too hard. "Why were you filming?" she asked. "I wasn't," Benjamin said. "I was just flying my drone. I wanted to catch the sunset. He came out of nowhere." Maria nodded slowly, then said, "And it auto-uploaded?" "Yeah," Benjamin said. "Everything." She sat back, thoughtful. "Then you didn't just catch what happened to you. You might have caught something that connects to other cases." Benjamin blinked. "Other cases?" She didn't elaborate. "Just keep that footage safe. I'll be in touch." 2 days later, the Civic Eye published an article titled, "Drone Footage Raises Questions About Lincoln Park Officer." It broke across social media like wildfire. National news outlets picked it up. By the third day, people were marching outside the Lincoln City Police Department. Inside, Officer Daniels sat across from 2 federal investigators in a gray room. His badge was on the table. His jaw was tight. When they asked for his body cam footage, he said it malfunctioned. The silence that followed was long enough to feel like judgment. That night, Benjamin sat on the couch next to his mother, watching the news play out. The footage from his drone was on the screen again, looping in slow motion. The anchor's voice said the words that made the air leave his lungs. Sources confirmed the FBI has launched a preliminary inquiry following the release of the viral video. His mother reached over and squeezed his hand. "You see, baby," she whispered. "The truth always finds a way." Benjamin didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the screen, on the broken image of that officer walking toward the camera. Because he knew something no one else did. That video wasn't the end of what the drone recorded. The last few seconds, the ones that had taken hours longer to upload, had finally appeared in his cloud folder that morning. And what those seconds showed would change everything. Benjamin didn't move for a long time after seeing the words appear on his screen, "Final upload complete." He stared at them until they blurred. The house was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint rustle of morning wind slipping through the half-open window. The sun hadn't risen yet, and the faint blue glow from his laptop painted the room in cold light. He hesitated before clicking. His finger hovered over the mouse, heart hammering. The video opened. The footage began exactly where the first one had ended, the cracked lens showing the world sideways. A patch of grass, a pair of black boots, the shimmer of broken plastic. The drone was still recording after it hit the ground. Then came a voice. "Officer Daniels?" "Yeah, it's handled," he said. His tone wasn't angry this time. It was casual, almost bored, the voice of a man who'd done this before. "Kid won't be a problem. Dropped it like we talked about. Should be enough for the paperwork if anyone checks." Benjamin sat up straight, eyes wide. His hands were trembling now. There was a pause in the recording. Then Daniels spoke again. "Tell the captain he'll get his numbers. I'm not risking another quota shortfall over some wannabe filmmaker." Benjamin's chest went tight. He froze the frame, staring at the screen. "Numbers," he whispered to himself. He said numbers. The words didn't sound random. They sounded practiced. This wasn't one man abusing power. This was a system working exactly how it was meant to. The air in Benjamin's room felt thinner. He grabbed his hoodie and stepped outside into the morning chill, the sky washed pale gray. The street was quiet, too quiet for everything spinning in his head. He didn't even realize where his feet were taking him until he found himself on the bus heading toward Tasha's apartment. He clutched his backpack to his chest, laptop inside, as if the truth itself could shatter if he loosened his grip. When she opened the door, one look at his face told her everything. "What happened?" she asked. "I found another video," he said, his voice low and tight. "The last few seconds. You need to see it." They sat at her kitchen table. The blinds were half-drawn, light falling in sharp stripes across the screen as he played the file. Daniel's voice filled the small space, cold, deliberate, and confident. When it ended, Tasha just sat back and covered her mouth with both hands. "Oh, Ben," she whispered. "You realize what this means?" Benjamin nodded slowly. "It's not just him." "No," she said softly. "It's never just one." She leaned forward, her voice steady now, the journalist in her surfacing. "That's an open admission of corruption, quotas, evidence planting, and cover-ups. You've got proof of something the city's been denying for years." Benjamin looked at her, searching her face. "What do we do with it?" Tasha took a deep breath. "We go back to Maria." By afternoon, they were sitting in a quiet corner of the same coffee shop where Maria Henderson had first met Benjamin. The smell of espresso hung in the air, but none of them were drinking. Maria watched the footage twice, once in silence, then again with her headphones on, listening closely. When she finally looked up, her expression had changed. The calm professionalism was still there, but underneath it, fear and something else. Determination. "This," she said slowly, tapping the edge of the laptop, "is bigger than you know. I've heard whispers about arrest quotas for years, but no one could ever prove it. Every complaint gets buried. Every witness disappears." "Not this one," Benjamin said. Maria nodded. "Not this one." She shut the laptop and looked at him. "You're brave, you know that? Most people would have deleted it and kept their heads down." "I almost did," he said quietly. "But if I don't show this, they'll just keep doing it to somebody else." Maria smiled faintly. "You're right." She scribbled a note in her pad. "I'm going to publish it. But we do it carefully, not sensational, not for clicks. We build the story around the facts. The footage, the voice, the chain of command." Benjamin nodded. "Whatever it takes." The next morning, the headline dropped. "Exclusive, leaked drone footage reveals officer, possible department quotas." Maria's story was calm, factual, and devastating. She included audio transcripts, expert analysis, and a brief statement from legal advisors confirming the voice matched Daniels. Within hours, it was everywhere. #LincolnPD trended on Twitter. News anchors debated accountability. Local stations replayed the video over and over, frame by frame. But for every voice calling for justice, there were others calling it fake. Some blamed Benjamin for provoking the officer. Others said it was edited by activists. The city was splitting in two, those who believed and those who refused to. Benjamin stayed off social media, but he couldn't escape the noise. The TV ran nonstop in the background. His mom told him to ignore the hate, but he could see the worry in her eyes every time someone knocked on the door or a car slowed outside their house. That evening, Maria called again. "They're suspending Daniels," she said. The department had no choice. Benjamin felt a small rush of relief. "That's good, right?" "Good," she said carefully, "but not over. The mayor's ordered an internal review. And the FBI's watching." She paused. "Ben, I need you to stay close to your mom for a few days, okay? Don't go anywhere alone." Her voice was kind, but the warning underneath it was real. 2 days later, the footage sparked something no one expected. A group of former Lincoln PD officers came forward anonymously, claiming the same quota system had forced them to make bad arrests just to keep their jobs. Maria's inbox flooded with new tips. Old reports that never made the news started resurfacing. And when one of the whistleblowers mentioned Captain Harris by name, the same man Daniels had referenced, it was over. By the end of the week, the FBI had a warrant. Benjamin found out the way everyone else did, on TV. He was sitting on the couch next to his mom, a half-eaten plate of dinner on the coffee table, when the anchor broke the story live. "Breaking news tonight. Federal agents have executed a search warrant at Lincoln Police Headquarters. Sources confirmed the investigation was sparked by viral drone footage recorded by a local teenager. The footage cut to flashing lights, boxes being carried out, officers avoiding cameras. Then came a photo, a blurred image of Benjamin standing beside Maria outside the cafe. His mom's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh Lord." Benjamin sank back into the couch, stomach twisting. "They said they'd blur me." "I know, baby," she said softly, "but once the truth gets out, you can't control how people use it." That night, the messages started coming in. Some were thank yous from strangers, people saying his courage gave them hope. Others were darker, anonymous, angry. He didn't respond to any of them. He just stared at the phone until the words blurred together, then turned it off. The next morning, 2 unmarked cars parked near the end of their street. Federal agents again. They weren't there to scare him, they were there to keep watch. Still, it made the world feel smaller. Inside the department, chaos had turned to collapse. The captain resigned. 5 officers were charged. Daniels was taken into custody after admitting he'd followed orders to meet monthly arrest goals. The city called it a necessary reckoning. But Benjamin knew better. Reckonings didn't fix everything. They just showed how broken things already were. When the noise finally died down, Maria came by the house. She brought a small voice recorder and a notebook, but mostly she just came to see how Benjamin was holding up. "You did something incredible," she told him. "You changed the conversation." He gave a tired smile. "I didn't mean to change anything. I just didn't want to be silenced." Maria nodded. "Sometimes that's all it takes." She hesitated, then asked, "If you could go back, would you still post it?" Benjamin thought for a moment. Then he said quietly, "Yes. But I'd still be scared." She smiled sadly. "That's how you know you did the right thing." Later that night, after she left, Benjamin stood by the window, watching the neighborhood lights flicker across parked cars. He thought about the park, about the sound of the drone, about how something so small had captured something so big. He whispered softly, "Even the smallest lens can expose the biggest corruption." His mom, standing in the doorway behind him, heard him say it. "Write that down," she said gently. "It's something people need to remember." Benjamin smiled for the first time in days. Outside, the city buzzed quietly, police radios, news vans, life moving forward again. But something in the air had changed. Something honest. Because one night in a park, a boy with a toy drone had pointed a camera at the truth, and the truth finally looked back. The noise didn't stop after the arrests. If anything, it grew louder. Every time Benjamin turned on the television, his name or his face was there. On news banners, talk shows, even local ads trying to ride the wave of the story. His classmates looked at him differently now. Some whispered, others smiled too wide. The teachers were polite, careful with their words. But nothing felt normal anymore. He'd gone from being just another quiet kid who liked making videos to the boy who brought down a police department. It sounded heroic when people said it online, but living it didn't feel that way. At home, his mom tried to keep things steady. She still made breakfast, still hummed to her old soul playlist, but there was a nervousness in the way she locked the door twice now, in the way she checked the curtains before bed. The street didn't feel safe. Neither did the silence. One night, a letter came in the mail, no return address. Inside was a single piece of paper with 5 words printed in black ink. "You made powerful people angry." He showed it to his mom. She folded it, placed it in an envelope and said quietly, "We'll give it to the agents." She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm proud of you," she said. "But I wish the world didn't make courage this costly." At school, things began to fracture too. Some kids treated him like a celebrity. They'd whisper, "That's the drone guy." A few asked for interviews for their YouTube channels. Others avoided him completely. Then there were the ones who didn't like what he'd done. One morning, someone had written on his locker door with a black marker, "Snish." He stood there for a long time, staring at it. Tasha came to meet him at lunch and saw it before he could hide it. She shook her head. "People always find a way to twist it, Ben. They can't stand seeing the truth come from someone like you." He sighed. "Feels like no one wants to see it at all." "They do," she said softly. "They're just scared. You showed them something real, and real things make people uncomfortable." Reporters still called wanting follow-up interviews. Benjamin stopped answering. When Maria came by one afternoon, she found him sitting on the porch, the drone's broken pieces still in a box beside him. "You okay?" she asked. He shrugged. "I guess." She sat down next to him. "You don't have to be." He looked at her. "You ever regret publishing stories like this? When it feels like no one really changes after?" Maria smiled faintly. "All the time. But then I remember, change doesn't happen in headlines. It happens in people. In one person seeing the truth and refusing to unsee it." Benjamin stared out at the street, quiet for a moment. "Sometimes I wish I never saw it." Maria's voice softened. "That's what makes you different. You didn't want the truth to make you famous. You just wanted it to matter." A few weeks later, The protests stopped. The headlines shifted to something new. The world moved on. But Benjamin couldn't. He'd learned that the internet has a short memory, but trauma doesn't. He still woke up some nights hearing the officer's voice in his head, still saw the reflection of those mirrored sunglasses in the dark. Sometimes he'd walk to Lincoln Park just to stand where it all happened. The grass had grown back, the trash can was still there, and if you didn't know what had happened, you'd think it was just another quiet spot. He'd sit on the bench, watch the sky, and imagine his drone up there again, free, floating, recording the world the way he wished it could be seen, calm, simple, honest. Tasha kept pushing him to start filming again. "You have an audience now," she said. "Use it. Make something bigger." Benjamin wasn't sure he wanted that. "I didn't want an audience," he said. "I just wanted the truth." Tasha smiled sadly. "Then maybe that's what you give them." He thought about it for a long time. Then one night he pulled out his camera, not the drone, just his old handheld, and started recording. He didn't plan what to say. He just spoke. "My name's Benjamin Anthony," he said. "You probably know me as the kid from the drone video. I didn't plan any of that. I just pressed record because I wanted to capture something beautiful. Instead, I captured something ugly. But I learned something from it. The truth doesn't fix everything. It doesn't heal everyone. But it's the first step towards something better." He paused, looking directly into the lens. "I guess all I'm saying is, keep your cameras rolling. Keep your eyes open. The world's full of stories people are trying to hide." He ended the video there. No music. No effects. Just truth. He posted it online under the same name as Tasha's channel, Eyes Open Media. The next morning, it had thousands of views. But this time, the comments weren't about outrage or sides, they were about gratitude. "You reminded me why we can't stop recording. Thank you for showing courage when we couldn't." Sometimes the truth just needs someone to keep it alive. For the first time since the night at the park, Benjamin smiled without forcing it. Weeks later, Maria stopped by again, this time without her recorder. She handed him a small box. Inside was a new drone, sleek, silver, untouched. "I thought you might need another lens," she said. Benjamin looked down at it, blinking hard. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Maria said. "Besides, this one has better cloud backup." He laughed quietly for the first time in months. "Guess the world learned something from mine, huh?" "Maybe," she said. "Maybe it just needed a reminder." That evening, Benjamin went back to the park. The air was cool, the sky streaked with soft orange and pink. He stood in the same spot as before and let the new drone rise slowly into the air, its quiet hum blending into the wind. He watched the live feed on his screen. Trees, rooftops, the fading sun. No fear this time. Just quiet. He thought about everything that had happened, about how one small camera had exposed so much ugliness, and yet somehow made space for something good to start growing. He whispered softly to himself, "Even the smallest lens can expose the biggest corruption." For a while, he just stood there, eyes on the screen, the drone floating steady above the park. And for the first time in a long time, the view looked clear again. Lincoln Park looked different now. Not perfect but safer. The grass still swayed the same way in the wind, the basketball court still echoed in the afternoons, and the old picnic tables still carried carvings from years of teenagers trying to leave their mark. But Benjamin wasn't the same kid who had stood here weeks ago, watching the sunset through a drone lens. He carried more weight now, quiet and steady. He laughed less, but when he did, it felt real. And for the first time since that night, he wasn't afraid to breathe fully again. It took time for life to settle back into something he could recognize. Some days were easier. He'd wake up feeling almost normal, make breakfast with his mom, watch a little TV before school. Other days he felt the heaviness all over again, like the world expected him to be something he wasn't sure he could be. Tasha kept pushing him to keep filming. Maria kept checking in, reminding him he wasn't alone. His mom stayed steady, offering quiet comfort and home-cooked meals that grounded him when nothing else did. But it wasn't any of them who finally helped him breathe again. It was someone unexpected. One afternoon, Benjamin was called to the school counselor's office. His heart dropped when he got the note. He worried it was another interview request or someone trying to make an example out of him. But when he stepped inside, he saw Mr. Porter, the school's media teacher, a man in his late 30s with soft eyes, a gentle voice, and a camera always hanging around his neck like it was part of him. He motioned for Benjamin to sit. "I watched your video," Mr. Porter said. "The one you posted on Eyes Open Media." Benjamin nodded, nervous. "Sorry, I didn't do it for school or anything. Mr. Porter raised a hand, stopping him. "You spoke from your heart. That matters more than any assignment." Benjamin swallowed. "Sometimes I feel like everyone's expecting me to fix something or stay strong. But I wasn't trying to be anything. I just pressed record." Mr. Porter leaned forward. "And that's exactly why what you did mattered. Real change doesn't start with people trying to be heroes. It starts with people telling the truth." Benjamin looked down at his hands. "I didn't want to be famous." "And you aren't," Mr. Porter said gently. "You're visible. There's a difference. Fame is noise. Visibility is purpose." The words hit him in a way nothing else had. For the first time, he felt understood. Grounded. So, Mr. Porter continued, "Whatever you do next, big or small, make sure it's yours. Not society's. Not the internet's. And definitely not the system's." Benjamin nodded slowly, letting the message sink into a part of him still bruised but healing. Before he left the room, Mr. Porter added one last thing. "Keep filming, Ben. The world needs more honest eyes." Weeks passed, and the city slowly moved forward. The FBI investigation expanded, indictments rolled in, and the community began to rebuild trust inch by inch. But Benjamin stayed out of the noise. He needed space to become himself again, not the symbol people had made him into. One evening, just before sunset, he returned to Lincoln Park with the new drone Maria had given him. The air was cool, the sky a soft orange fading into dusky purple. He stood exactly where he'd stood the night everything changed. The same patch of grass, the same steady hum of traffic in the distance. He held the drone in his hands for a long moment, almost like a question. Was he ready? Did he want to reopen the sky again? Then he remembered Mr. Porter's words. "Make sure it's yours." So he breathed in, let the moment settle, and pressed the launch button. The drone lifted slowly, gracefully, nothing like the frantic flight from that first night. Benjamin watched it rise, watched the park shrink beneath it, watched the world soften into something beautiful again. For the first time, he wasn't filming proof or danger or injustice. He was filming peace. He was filming healing. And in that quiet moment, as the sunset washed the sky, Benjamin felt something inside him return, the part of him that saw the world not as a threat, but as a canvas. He whispered softly, almost like a prayer no one needed to hear but him, "Even the smallest lens can expose the biggest corruption, and the smallest light can start the biggest healing." The drone hovered above him, and for the first time in a long time, Benjamin smiled. Not all battles are fought with anger. Some are fought with honesty, and honesty is rarely convenient or comfortable. Benjamin showed the world that change can begin from the smallest act. A simple recording, a moment of clarity, a refusal to look away. This story is a reminder that truth doesn't always roar. Sometimes it begins with one person willing to see clearly, even when everyone else chooses not to. And now the question passes on to whoever hears this. If the truth stood in front of you, quiet and undeniable, would you press record, or would you look away? If this story moved you, taught you something, or opened your eyes even for a moment, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below.